Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Pulse with BP. I'm your host, Billy Parvatam, folks. I'm so excited today to be joined by none other than Dr. Scott Geller. He's the Alumni Distinguished Professor at Virginia Tech in the Department of Psychology. He's been in Blacksburg forever, it seems like. He's also the director of the Center for Applied Systems, Behavior Systems, and I'm so glad to be joined by him today. Doc, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Billy. Yeah, man. Yeah, I just finished my 50th year at Virginia Tech. So I've been here a long time. You're right on that.
Yeah, for sure. That is amazing. And that's something I do want to get to here in a second. But first, I want to start off with how have you been doing during this pandemic? I mean, this coronavirus pandemic has uprooted our whole lives, both professionally and personally. So, how's it impacted you?
Well, one way is in a positive way is that I usually have to travel all over to give these keynote addresses, because I've got somewhat of a reputation in the field of safety. And we started behavior-based safety here at this university, 1979. Now it's a worldwide movement. So now people are calling me up and say, hey, we could just get Gellert on a Zoom meeting and talk to our group and it won't cost us a dime. So we call it outreach. So as an ADP, outreach is one of my main things I need to do. So in many ways, it's been outreach. I've given maybe 20 plus webinars and podcasts and so on. That's the positive side. Of course, the negative side, everybody knows we're not connecting with people. We're not interacting with people. I might tell you though, I've come to my office every day. I've come, and of course nobody's here, but I've been back in spring. I just started coming to my office because I needed to have that routine of coming to my office and putting in a day.
For sure. And that's something we all have had to adjust with during these times. You are a native of Allentown, Pennsylvania. When did you first know you were interested in psychology?
Oh, I didn't know. My dad was a doctor, my mother was a nurse, and I thought I'd be a medical doctor, a real doctor. In fact, I went to the College of Worcester, Worcester, Ohio, a small school. My mother knew that I was shy and I needed a smaller school to get involved. But anyway, I was thinking I was in pre-med. And but the psychology classes interest me. And I started thinking, wow, I've always wanted to make a difference. Of course, you can make a difference in any profession, but I kind of decided that I could make a bigger difference if I went into psychology. So when I was a senior in college, I had a choice between medical school or graduate school. Turned out that graduate school, I had an assistantship, so it wouldn't cost any money. So money was a factor, but I went on to graduate school and here I am. I never knew what I would end up doing in psychology. My dissertation was completely different than what I'm doing now. But what appealed to me was making a difference with behavioral science.
For sure. And you mentioned you've been at Virginia Tech a long time. You started here in 1969, over 50 years ago. What does this university mean to you? I mean, you've been here most of your life.
Oh yeah, man. This is the community. I mean, we've had everything's happened here, the tragedy in 2007, but even that tragedy, that shooting tragedy where 33 counting the shooter lost their lives. This community came together like no other community. So let's face it, this has been a very special place for me. I want to tell people I've been offered jobs elsewhere. In fact, I had some opportunities to go elsewhere, but I always said, do I want to leave Virginia Tech? So this has been a special place for me. And I really appreciate teaching the class you took, Introductory Psychology, because every year we connect with about 1,000 undergraduate students. And who knows, maybe I could plant some seeds about applied psychology that will make a difference in their lives in some small way.
Well, I wanted to go to that because, you have so much on your plate. You do so much with university and obviously outside of the university. So why do you continue to teach this intro to psychology course rather? What's your objective in trying to teach this course?
I just want I want to introduce students to applied psychology. I get the chance to teach the second half for each semester. I teach the second half of 2 classes. And of course, I get a chance to get up there on the stage and scream and shout and show off what I know, but I want to plant seeds for these students because I'll tell you what, psychology connects to every profession. I don't, whatever profession you plan, whether it's wherever, there's a human dynamic to about everything we do. Engineers need to know more about the human dynamics. So the point is, I have this feeling that what we teach relates to everything these kids do. And I do want to leave this world having done some small part to maybe make it a little better.
For sure. And one of the things you're doing is actively caring for people. You started that. In fact, I see the sign right behind you. So what kind of went into that? And for people who don't know, how can you explain it?
Well, again, that started right after our tragedy. You know, my students and I got, we have to, people were caring for each other after that terrible time. And we said, we have to care for people before. Why do we need a tragedy to bring people together? So actively caring. Now, in academic terms, that is humanistic behaviorism. So behavioral science is behavior, acting. Caring is the humanistic side. So in a sense, we all care, but what do you do about it? So actively caring, it's a website now, it's worldwide, ac4p.com. We have wristbands. I'm wearing one right now. If I see an act of kindness, you've probably seen this, Billy, right? And it says actively caring for people on it. Each wristband has its own identification number. So I see an act of kindness. I see somebody helping somebody else or doing something for somebody else. I give them this wristband and I say, join our movement. It's the AC4P movement. And by the way, go to your computer and log in this number. It's unique. In fact, we call it the STEP process. S, see an act of kindness. T, thank them. Wristband, thank them. E, enter what just happened. Positive gossip for a change. Social media should be positive gossip. So enter this wristband, go to the computer, put it in there, and then P, pass it on. Don't keep this. Now you look for an act of kindness and you pass it on. I'm wearing here a blue wristband. These are police officers. Police officers in 3 states now are wearing blue wristbands. We actually wrote a manual for police officers. They have their own website, actively caring for people policing. So a police officer, imagine, sees an act of kindness, takes off this blue wristband, gives it to the citizen. This is called community policing. And do we not need this more today than ever before? I mean, police do far more positive things for people than negative things. This is promoting that positive side. And so police officers are receiving training. And again, the job is to get this thing out there. We sit in the ivory tower and we come up with these ideas and we do this research, but it means nothing unless it gets out to others. And maybe that's what you're going to help do, man. Maybe through this presentation and you sharing with others, people need to know about the actively caring for people. It's a movement. It's a movement.
For sure. And it seems like even now, Doc, I mean, with the coronavirus pandemic, mental health has been an issue right at the forefront. It seems like now more than ever, we have to do our part to actively care for other people.
Absolutely. And the word we use is interdependent. We've been raised to be independent. We come into this life being dependent on others to take care of us. We can't wait to become teenagers, to do it ourselves. And some of us get stuck there. Can I help you? No, I can do it myself. But in fact, we're all in this together. How many times have we heard this? We're all in this together. It's interdependent. Now, in introductory psychology, most of your listeners, matter of fact, have heard about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You remember that? First you satisfy your physiological needs, you move up the ladder and you got your safety and security, and then you move up and you've got your social needs, and then one, we call it self-esteem. What's at the top? Do you remember, Billy?
You're going to have to help me out with that one.
Well, everybody here, many listeners will, it's self-actualization. And by the way, that's how some of the introductory psychology textbooks still teach it, but it's not correct. I mean, that's the way I learned it. But Abraham Maslow, he passed away in 1972, and he said he was wrong before he passed away. He said, the best you can be is self-transcendence, going beyond yourself for somebody else. Actively caring. That's what it is. And check it out. I don't have to have all these needs satisfied before I help somebody else. And when you help somebody else, notice how it fuels your self-esteem. You help somebody else and you feel better about yourself. And you help somebody else, and now you maybe feel some social relationship that you didn't have before. So when you, and like you said, you started this, you got me talking about the pandemic. We're in a situation now where we need to help each other. By the way, we wear these masks. And is this for me? In partly, but it's really for you. We wear this mask for others. And it's too bad that we didn't see it that way. It's too bad that the leaders of this country and the world did not talk about mask wearing as public protection. It's personal protective equipment, but in this case, it's public protection. I'm protecting others. It's actively caring. We keep our distance because we're actively caring. Simple message. If we can simply say that preventing COVID-19, preventing the pandemic, is simply by actively caring for others. We're keeping mask and keeping social distance.
For sure. And Doc, do you feel like your profession and what you do has helped you kind of carry a positive outlook on, what's going on? I mean, we've had so much stuff happen in this past year with civil unrest, the pandemic. I mean, politics that has divided the country. I mean, do you find that your profession and what you do really helps you keep a positive outlook on everything going on right now?
I'm teaching a class this semester called Positive Psychology, and positive psychology was developed by Martin Seligman 20 years ago. And it was an attempt to look at the positive side. When people say psychology, what do they think? You got problems, you got an emotional problem, you're going to see a psychologist. And that's true. Psychologists do look at that side of the coin. But what about the other side of the coin? The positive side, What about what makes people happy? I'll tell you, we just said one thing that makes people happy: helping others makes people happy. So, but we have to experience that. And sometimes we have to help people take that first step. Give people an idea. Here's the wristband again. Give people an idea of how you can help others. But yeah, positive psychology, what makes people happy? By the way, it's not money. You got enough money to get up that ladder, but more than that, no. It's more to happiness than money. And so anyway, that is a part of psychology these days, and we teach that in our class called Positive Psychology.
And I was wondering too, because with everything going on, social media has also, I think, played a part in maybe helping to or adding to kind of the stuff we face today. In a lot of ways, social media can be a positive, but in many ways it can also be a negative. So how do you approach how to handle the phenomena of social media, especially from a psychological perspective?
Wow. Let's face it, social media turns out to be more negative than positive. It's kind of like, I want to vent. I want to say something to somebody. And guess what? I don't have to see them one-on-one. I can post it on media. And it's really, it's sad. It kind of reflects a culture of self-serving behavior. It's a selfish kind of, it doesn't have to be that way. We can use social media opposite. We can talk about positive things. We can talk about being a success seeker rather than a failure avoider. For example, remember we talked about that in introductory psychology. Do you work for a positive consequence, or do you work to avoid an aversive consequence? It's just a mindset. I ask my students, do you say to your friends, I got to go to class, or do you get to go to class? Is it a requirement, or is it an opportunity? Do you wake up to an alarm clock, or is it an opportunity clock? So again, there's a positive side. How we talk to ourselves and to others can influence our mood state. Another point related to positive psychology is the role of gratuity. We've been studying this with our students. Just to thank somebody not only makes that other person feel better, but it makes you feel better. We've developed, I have on my desk, we have thank you cards that students take to their professors after class. And they give this to the professor and they thank them. I got my phone. They thank them for that lecture. And sure enough, then they fill out this little survey at the bottom of the card and turn it in. How did it make you feel? And our evidence is there. When you thank someone, you feel better. The professors, they love it because we don't get enough gratuity. We don't get, how many professors get a thank you from a student? How many students even thought about doing that, even though that lecture really inspired me? That lecture informed me, but it's not part of our culture. When you cross the street and in a pedestrian crosswalk and the car has stopped for you, how many thank that driver for stopping for them? Now, we've been studying that. We know on this campus, 5% of the pedestrians, but we put signs up saying, give a wave, say thank you to the driver. And sure enough, that increased it. But the point is, what can we do in our culture? What can we do in our culture to increase gratitude, the delivery of gratitude and the reception of gratitude?
For sure. And like I mentioned, Doc, I mean, you've been a professor now for over 50 years at Virginia Tech. Have you ever thought about what you would have been doing if you decided not to pursue a career in academia?
Wow. Well, I've been, my students told me years ago that I should go into politics, because, because there could be a positive side. Much of what we're talking about here, politicians need to know about it. Here's an interesting issue: leadership versus management. We teach in psychology, if only the politicians, for example, understood, what do leaders do? Managers control behavior. Leaders inspire people. How do we do that? So again, I could go on and on that one. By the way, I have a TEDx talk on empowerment, on self-motivation, and it's related to leadership. And it was posted like 7 years ago, and I'm pleased to say it's got almost 10 million views, man. So people see Virginia Tech, again, this place that I love, people see Virginia Tech when they log on to that TEDx talk. But what would I be doing? I think I would be traveling around and giving motivational speeches. I think I would have been in the business world more, teaching what I teach at the school, but teaching in business. And by the way, I would have made a whole lot more money, but it's not about money. We've said that earlier, right? It's about people.
That's awesome. And like I mentioned, I mean, you've been in Blacksburg, a resident of the community for so long. What are some of your favorite things you like to do when you're not working? I mean, do you go to Virginia Tech games? Do you like taking long hikes? I mean, what are some things you like to do around the NRV?
Well, I don't watch sports except Virginia Tech, man. Virginia Tech's playing basketball. We won yesterday. I mean, yeah, I'm watching sports, football, go to football games. Absolutely. I played tennis on the tennis courts, and of course, this is what a great environment with the scenery, with hiking and so forth and so on. So what I've done kind of changes as I grew older, of course. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do in this community, and it is about interacting with people, which we're not doing as much these days.
For sure. And what's your advice to people who want to go into academia? I mean, you've known it, you've done it for so long. I mean, what would be your advice to say you meet a graduate student and they want to become a professor, a tenured professor in academia? What would be your advice to them?
The first thing I would say is there's no better job, folks. There's no better job. You might not make as much money as those in the business world, but what job pays you to learn and to teach. I mean, this job, I had the opportunity for 50 years to continuously learn so I can teach others. And in many cases, I'm teaching what only I know through research. So from my perspective, that's the first point, no better job than academia. Teaching and learning should be a lifelong mission for everybody, actually. But in the academic world, it's part of my real job. In order for me to teach best, I need to learn best. And we never stop doing that. So that's the first point. What else now with regard to academia? All I can say is it's the best job in the world. And everybody likes choice. Choice is motivating. My TEDx talk talks about the value of choice. The academic world gives me more choice to choose what I want to study, research, time. I got more opportunity to choose what I do in the academic world than any other job I could have. I'm essentially my own boss in many ways, you know?
For sure. And Doc, you've had so many awards, publications. You've taught so many students over your career. I mean, do you ever take any time to just step back and reflect on all the things you've done, especially in over 50 years at Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I guess I do, but it kind of scares me, you know? I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. And I say to myself, I got to have something else to write. I need something else to do. I don't want to have too much time on my hands. But that's again, that's my mindset. My mindset has been continue to contribute, continually to contribute. Because when I contribute, I feel good about it. Again, back to actively caring. When you're reaching out and you're helping others, you feel better about that. So yeah, I mean, I do. I think one of the greatest reinforcers for me is when a student will email me or send me a letter, and I get some of those where they say, I'm majoring in psychology because of your class, or I had a lady call me just the other day, and after 20 years, she called me and she said, I just want you to know. And of course, and she had seen some of my books online, and she said, I just want you to know how your class changed me and changed my direction. I came in thinking this, and I took psychology and I moved to this direction. So man, that keeps me going. And it's kind of scary that I'm really getting close to where I'm going to have to retire and reflect. I don't want to get there, Billy. I don't want to get there. I want to keep doing, but I know it's going to happen sooner than later.
For sure. And that kind of leads me to my final question, Doc, because you've been so gracious with your time, is when will you know you will have taught your last lecture? I mean, I remember in our intro to psych class, I'm pretty sure that's kind of what you do the last day of class. You know, if this is my last lecture, I'd want to leave you with this. So when that time comes for you, when will you know that it is time that will be your last lecture?
Wow. You know, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like every last lecture in introductory psychology could be my last lecture. And that's probably what I said to you. You took the class 2019, 2 years ago. I mean, that's what I said. This could be my last lecture. Live each day as if it's your last day. Be thankful for what you have today. Look, I mean, yes, we're dealing with a pandemic, but there also are positive things in our lives. You know, there are things that we can appreciate, and that's what we have to focus on. Focus on the positive. Yeah. So I guess I'm hoping that I can keep doing what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden I have to say sorry. I did start a nonprofit, Actively Caring for People Foundation. So kind of thinking, so when I need to move from this place, I can move and work on the same basic mission, increasing actively caring for people worldwide, which I know this world needs now, perhaps more than ever before. We have to care for each other. We have to care for our environment. We really have to care for our environment. One of my first books was on preserving the environment, 1982. And back then we were talking about we need to care preserve our environment. And we're not. And we're not. Perhaps the best thing for our environment has been COVID-19, quite frankly. But my point is, there's always something for all of us to think about doing to contribute to make this world a better place. And I guess I'm hoping that I can continue doing that until I can't continue, you know? And so if it's not at Virginia Tech, hopefully it'll be at a foundation. But I don't like to think about that. My mindset is keep doing what we're doing. And Billy, I thank you for this opportunity to talk and to share with others a perspective. It's funny, we don't look to our elders for the wisdom that they have, you know? It's kind of like, again, I do it myself. I can do it myself. But no, it's this mindset of interdependent. Let's learn from each other. And the more diversity we have, the better the learning, you know, the better the learning, because it's called synergy, right? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The more divergent, the more different are the parts, the greater the synergy, the greater the whole. However, it's not so easy to bring those divergent pieces together. And that's our challenge, I think, in our culture right now, is to become more interdependent, more respectful of others, more actively caring.
Well, Doc, this has been such a pleasure. And I've always, even when I took your class and now, always appreciate your energy and how you interact with students and all the things you do. I mean, I just love see all the things you're involved in, and I can't thank you enough for this time.
Thank you, Billy. I appreciate it, man.
For sure. Well, that's Dr. Scott Geller, the Alumni Distinguished Professor at Virginia Tech in the Department of Communication, also the Director of the Center for Applied Behavioral Systems. It has been such a pleasure to be joined by him today on this latest edition of The Pulse with BP. I'm your host, Billy Parvatam. Thank you so much, folks, and we'll see you next time.